And you call yourself a Muslim? Maybe you've never said it out loud, but you have thought of it. Have you kept a quiet ledger of his Islamic failures? The Fajr he slept through, the hadith about kindness to wives he clearly hasn't read, and pulled it out silently or out loud in the middle of a fight? I have, and most of us have. And today we're going to talk about the thing almost nobody names. How we turn our beautiful deen into a weapon in our marriages, and what is it really costing us? Assalamu alaikum, I'm Insia, and this is the Muslim Marriage Clinic. Bismillah. This one needs gentleness, so take a breath with me. Let me start by saying this episode is not about excusing husbands who neglect their responsibilities. Your hurt is real, and Islam takes his duty seriously, more seriously than culture often does. But there's a pattern I fell into myself, and I see it in almost every wife I work with. There was a period where I was praying more consistently. The blessed days came in and I was in it. The du'as, the zikr, showing up for every prayer. And I could feel something shift inside of me. A softness, a closeness to Allah, barakah in the small things. And then I'd look at him and the comparison happened before I even had time to catch it. He wasn't in the same place in his deen and spiritually, at least not in the ways I could see. And something in me, something I genuinely believed was a concern, was love, was wanting good for my family, started moving with an agenda. I'd mentioned praying together, drop hints, send something I'd read, all of it dressed up as care. But underneath, it was coming from fear. If he's not praying, what does that do to the barakah of this house? To the deen my children are absorbing? To us? I was afraid. And fear, when it goes unnamed, becomes judgment. The hints got quieter but sharper. The sincerity wasn't really there, not fully. I was doing things at him, not with him, nudging him towards something I had decided he was missing. And the whole time I told myself I was trying to help. That's the thing about using deen as a measuring stick in marriage. It doesn't feel like judgment when you're in it. It feels like clarity. It feels like you're simply seeing what's true, that you're striving and he isn't, at least not in the same way, and at least not right now. And if you care about Allah, if you care about this family, doesn't that mean you should say something? And at some point I had to sit with a harder question. How did I get permission to judge him? Because that's what was happening. Not concern, judgment, the kind that quietly files someone under not good enough spiritually, not good enough for the marriage I'd imagined, not good enough for the life of barakah I was reaching for. And once I saw that I couldn't unsee what came next, that I turned the same scorecard on myself. I was judging him and shaming myself for judging him, and the whole thing was spinning around this genuine desire to please Allah, but twisted into something that was producing resentment, not rahmah. What I hadn't understood yet was how differently two people can worship. How he restrains himself in a fight in a way I don't see and don't give credit. How he quietly moves away from something haram that I didn't even notice was there. How his sabr shows up in his body while mine shows up in my tongue. How his sadaqah looks different from mine, and neither of us has access to others' full account. There is no scorecard between a husband and a wife. There was never supposed to be. The judgment, the real reckoning, belongs to Allah on a day that isn't today. And what we owe each other in the meantime, what Islam actually asks of us in marriage, is husn zan, the benefit of doubt. Not performed generosity, but a genuine willingness to say, I cannot see his heart the way Allah sees it, and that should make me more humble, not more certain. The twinning and winning dream, this idea that a truly good marriage means two people spiritually in sync, posting the same goals, moving at the same pace, that's another story we've been sold. And one that quietly poisons the well because it turns your husband's private relationship with Allah into something that's supposed to show up in a way you can measure. His journey is his, yours is yours. And The place where they meet is not a competition, it's a mercy. Here's the uncomfortable truth I found. The deen became decoration for my anger. I wasn't quoting the hadith because I wanted his akhirah to be safe. I was quoting it because I wanted to win. What weaponizing deen looks like. It's quieter than we think. Using ayat and hadith as ammunition in arguments, keeping a mental file of his Islamic shortcomings while ours stay private. Measuring him against the Prophet ﷺ while measuring ourselves against our worst day. Saying fear Allah as a comeback, not a counsel. Even our du'as can become weapons. May Allah guide him. Said it with a sigh in front of others. Naming it matters because it hides so well. It feels righteous. It dresses up as commanding good. But the test is simple. Counsel builds a person up in private. A weapon cuts them down in battle. Just observe yourself this week. When deen enters your thoughts about your husband, pause and ask, am I holding this as a mirror or pointing it as a sword? No fixing it, just awareness first. Why it never works. Weaponized deen produces the opposite of what we want. A husband who's spiritually shamed by his wife doesn't draw closer to Allah. He avoids the topic, avoids the masjid, that conversation. Sometimes he avoids her as well, because now the deen is associated with humiliation at home. And there's a second cost, closer to home. What it does to us. When I use Quran to win fights, my own relationship with those ayat changes. The book becomes a courtroom document instead of mercy. Allah describes spouses as garments for each other in Surah Al-Baqarah. Garments cover flaws, they don't broadcast them. One rule that you can try and change this week is deen never enters an argument. Not one ayah, not one hadith, not mid-conflict. If it's worth saying later, calm, in private, with love, the way you'd want your own shortcomings to be raised. And since most weaponizing happens when we're angry, my free training, How to Emotionally Regulate When Angry, is linked in the show notes. It goes into what you want to do in those hot 90 seconds before the words come out. It pairs perfectly with this episode. The Quran's pattern is consistent. It addresses you, the reader, about your conduct. So flip it. Every standard I hold him to, I audit myself against it. Am I fulfilling my side with ihsan? Is my tongue safe for him? Do I make dua for him with the same energy I complain about him? Not because your needs don't matter, but because self-accountability is the only lane where you have full power. You cannot make him pray Fajr. You can make your home a place where faith feels warm instead of weaponized. And Allah rewards your side of the ledger regardless of what he does with his. That's the akhirah math that changes everything. Try the swap for 7 days. Every time you notice his Islamic shortcoming, deliberately do one Islamic kindness for your own scale. Watch what happens to the atmosphere of your home within a week. Deen isn't just something to stop misusing. It's the greatest toolkit you have. Dua at tahajjud for his heart and yours instead of lectures at Maghrib. The salawat when resentment spikes. Gratitude lists that include him, because if you are grateful, I will surely increase you in it. Applies to husbands too. Renewing your niyyah. My patience, my softness, my restraint. These are for Allah, and nothing done for Allah is ever wasted. Because a wife anchored in Allah is unshakable in a way no communication techniques can produce. When your emotional well-being is funded by your Rabb, you stop needing your husband to be perfect before you can be at peace. Choose your weapon, the halal kind. One dua you'll make for him daily for the next 30 days by name, be specific. Many wives tell me the single practice softened them before it changed him. Both happen. Some of you are on the other side. A husband who quotes wives must obey, but forgets the best of you is the best to his wife. Let's be clear that his weaponizing and this episode doesn't hand him a free pass. Because half-taught deen used against women is real and it wounds deep. Your defense is a knowledge. A woman who knows her rights in Islam Her mahar, her kind of treatment, her voice cannot be gaslit with religion. Learn your deen from scholars, not from arguments. And if religious control in your home crosses into harm, that's beyond a podcast. Seek a qualified, trustworthy imam. Local support and protecting yourself can also be a form of worship. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe and follow the show for more. If today stepped onto your toes, it stepped onto mine while I wrote it. The anger regulation mini training is in the show notes. If you feel called, this is it. Barakallahu feekum. See you in the clinic.